slicing of fingers, slicing of eyeball, like slicing
Like
with
a deli.
like a turkey, with like a meat slicer. Right?
Just,
that's like what you use to like cut a turkey.
absolutely.
Am I
Just
wrong?
a buffet of body parts is what that is. I've come to the deli, and what do I want?
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid. See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone. All the sirens, all the things. Super excited because today we are talking about the 2023 found footage horror anthology film, VHS 85, baby.
I had to I had the split second where I was like, what number is it?
Right.
A
Well,
lot of years.
it's a lot of
now.
years, a lot of movies. A lot of the chain doesn't have years for the movies. But to put it in perspective, this is the 6th installment in the VHS chain, and it features segments from David Bruckner, Scott Derrickson, Gigi Saw Guerrero, Natasha Kermani, and Mike P. Nelson. So, heavy spoilers for VHS 85, and maybe we'll get into some other of the VHSs in comparison. So just want to put you guys on alert for that. And wow, Jamie, there's so many trigger warnings, so
God,
please get us started. There's so many.
Oh, God. All
Jeez.
right. Well, I'll start with this movie is pretty gory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of insides on the outside in a variety of ways. So this one stands out as one of the gorier ones, I think.
I agree.
So let's see, where do we start? The first one has people being shot by really intensely high caliber bullets. So they're being ripped apart by gunfire. Then you have a very disturbing earthquake rubble. People have been crushed by an earthquake. And then more insides on the outside, like hearts being ripped out, a la Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Then you have
Kalima Shakti Day.
then you have someone lose both of their legs, and then her brain is fried, and blood splashes on a bunch of people. Then you have a family who you referencing the first one where you see someone with their high caliber gun shooting people, and then the police come to the home and it's a shootout. So you see again a lot of brutality there, with more people being shot or shooting themselves. Then you have
And suicide.
yes,
Oh, yeah, and
well,
suicide,
shooting
yeah.
themselves, yes. Then you have even more brutal murders
violence,
happen.
oof.
Yeah, gun violence, slicing of things, lots of insides on the outside, lots of slicing of fingers, slicing of eyeball, slicing
Like a
with
deli.
a turkey, with a meat slicer. Right?
Just-
That's what you use to cut a turkey.
Absolutely.
Am I
Just
wrong?
a buffet of body parts is what that is. I've come to the deli, and what do I want?
Buffet
It has it
of
all.
body parts. Really? Yep. That is 100%
Yeah.
accurate. Reference to sexual assault as well. But yeah, lots of dismembering. And then you have a kind of creature feature. where the creature is killing people with its like weird long like I don't. What is it? What is it?
Like tentacle type?
Yeah, like
type,
a tentacle
type of stuff.
tail that has like devil ears at the end of it.
Like a claw. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he just makes them gyrate at the end, so it's all okay.
Yeah, if you don't like 80s dance videos.
If you don't like jazzercise.
Oh,
if you get a little
did I miss
tweaked at that.
anything? It's a lot of dismembering. It's a lot of blood. It's a lot of body
y'all.
parts.
Yeah.
And gun violence.
Yeah. I would agree with Jamie that I think this is probably on the gorier side of the chain.
Mm-hmm.
But like we've done before, because we have a recording of VHS 99 is what we did. Yes.
Mm-hmm. We did
like
99.
Did we only do 99?
I think we only did 99.
Let me check. I don't remember.
Because I was looking to
Did
see.
we not do Ratma? Hail Ratma?
No, we may not have.
Hail Ratma?
No, because we were talking about Mabel.
We did Mabel's. We love
Yeah,
Mabel, but also
we love
Hail
Mabel.
Ratma.
Oh, I love I don't think we did the Ratma one.
No. But while Brian is looking that up, how we will do it, how we have done it, and how we will do it for this episode is, since it is an anthology series, we're going to go through each of them. We ranked them in order from 1 to 5, and Brian will take the reins on this, but we'll go through each of our rankings and talk about it as such. I'm super excited to hear what y'all think about it. Brian, did you find it?
VHS. Let's see. I think we
Only did 99?
Because that's all that I saw when I pulled it up on the Spotify.
we only did 95. We only did 99 and 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Good years.
Okay, so this is how we're gonna do this today. We watched VHS 85, and how we usually do things when we rank things. I think we did this with 99, like Nikisha said.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, we all rank them 1 through 5. So if you've watched VHS, you know that 2 of the segments are kind of by the same director and tie into each other. So we counted those as one long segment. So instead of 6, we only counted 5. We're going to go through the 3 of us, and we're going to start counting down from 6. We're all going to say what we thought was our least favorite, essentially. And then, when all of us have said each one 3 times, so each one has listed it once, that's when we'll talk about the segment. We'll talk about what the plot was, and then we'll talk about why we liked or didn't like it, our likes and gripes for those. So I guess this is all the likes and gripes segment, even though it's not really likes and gripes. I guess it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so Nikisha, why don't you give us your intro?
All right, let's get into it with our first segment of likes and gripes with a little bit of ratings.
And now our likes and gripes.
Perfect. All right. Nikisha, let's start with you.
Yes.
What was what was in last place? Your least favorite in number 5th spot?
Yes, without a doubt, hands down, was the Techno God. It was not my favorite. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, because if we talk about it, we talk about it. So that's my number 5.
Jamie?
My number 5 was not that god, the other god, God of Death.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That was also my least favorite. God of Death was also my least favorite. So, yeah. All right. Through round 1, Techno has 1 vote, and God of Death has 2. Nikisha, let's start round 2 with you. What was your fourth on number 4?
My 4th was Total Copy, Creature Feature.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mine was. Oh no, Jamie, you're next.
My 4th was Techno God.
And so was mine.
Okay.
Okay, so we talk about it.
We talk about Techno God. Nikisha, you ranked it last. Why
Yes.
don't you go first, talking about Techno? Oh, before we start, Techno God is about a woman who is doing basically a one-woman show about the fact that we have all kind of stopped praying or believing in the old gods and have switched over to the god of technology, essentially. And she tries to summon it in like a virtual reality, and it starts attacking her in front of her audience through her virtual reality, and ends up massacring her body and frying her brain. Nikisha, you start us off.
It was just a little too out there for me, as far as like I didn't really get a too good of a sense of reality. And I know it's all of it, you know, is to the extreme, right? But the only thing that I did like about it was the fact that the little virtual reality helmet, it was called an iPhone, but EYEI.
Too.
That's literally the only thing that I was like, oh, that's clever. An iPhone. Okay.
That was clever because, like, us as an audience member didn't think twice about it. So, like, the point she was trying to make about praying to the god of technology was a little bit more impactful because they were using the term iPhone.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, yes. But, and I want to say I wasn't a fan of this person's acting performance, but I'm still trying to debate in my brain, was she just being a theater actor or was it just not great acting? So you guys tell me that in the comments if you think which one it was. So that kind of took me out of it too. And yeah, it was just a little slow, her trying to call out to the god and it coming, but I will say, like, the dismemberment of it all, the gore of it all, like, was excellent and fantastic. And then the melting of her eyes and stuff when they took the VR off of her, that was insane. But it's just as far as like a story and what it was trying to convey, I don't think that I got the punch that I wanted to, of like how technology is like detrimental to like human existence and life in that moment. So yeah.
You wanted a little bit more Black Mirror from that one, almost?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It's like, if you're gonna go there, go there. You know, it just was a little half-assed is too harsh. It just didn't hit the mark for me. It was like on the side.
In that one, she actually says the Black Mirror of our creation. She actually says the phrase Black Mirror. So
Which I also thought was really interesting. It's like, if you're going to conjure up that comparison, then hopefully you can deliver at the same level.
Yeah. Jamie, you want to continue with your thoughts?
Yeah, here's something that, like, I think I'm noticing. This is just my own experience, and I think that that's part of why my ratings are what they are, and like my overall feelings about this. But I'm finding it harder and harder to tolerate like gore in movies, especially if it's like not really earned, I guess I would say. But like in general, I'm just finding it a lot harder to like stomach it. And so the gore that we get in this, of like her skin being ripped off by the like techno god, I guess, or like whatever the creature was very unsettling and disturbing. And then like having to see her, I was like, I think I literally said, and Brian could probably vouch for me, I was like, don't take off her helmet. Like, know it's not going to be good under there.
Right.
Just don't fucking do it. And of course you do it, and then you're just like seeing eyeballs exist. And it's just too much. But then like it doesn't quite connect back with like, what is her purpose of conjuring up like this technology god? Like, if we're replacing, our faith and putting it into technology, like what's the point of doing this? Like, what was she intending to do? Let's say that like this didn't happen. Was she just like, look, see, like there is nothing there, or like it's not totally clear what the goal was. So, and then you just get like, this thing comes and it's like, oh, surprise, it attacks her. But like, what's the point of it? Also, I get that there is supposed to be the laughs at the end where everyone's like covered in her blood and like clapping like, oh, what a great one woman show. But like, no one reacts. The cameraman also doesn't react. He's just going up to her with the camera, which is going to go back to my like thesis of how I feel about this movie. I'll just say it now. I really did not like this movie. And I'm so disappointed that I didn't like it because I really like the VHS movies. I like anthologies. I wanted this one to be good. And I'm overall super disappointed because it is so hard to justify, and I'll say it multiple times, it's hard to justify why anybody is going to pick up a camera and film any of the shit that we see in most of these segments. And this is, again, one of them. Like, I get her wanting to film her show, but I don't understand why the cameraman is, like, going up to her at the end to, like, open up her helmet and see her eye. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, again, it's just gory for the sake of it being gory and unsettling, but it otherwise doesn't have any point to me.
Yeah, that's great. That is a great point. And that's one thing that I feel like I always have to suspend my disbelief in, because I can absolutely gripe all day about why people have a camera permanently attached to their hand when they are literally dying.
That was one of your biggest pet peeves when we watched Rec.
Yes.
And Rec is one of the better justifications for it.
Yeah, where they're like, the people need to know what's happening here because, like, they're limiting information and, like, so, like, we want to make sure that people, like, tell our story. That I can justify. Even in the first definitely the first VHS, where they come up with really clever ways where people have cameras on them, whether it's a hidden camera in the glasses,
right?
Or like things like that, where it's like, oh, cool, or like this couple going on their honeymoons, they want to like film their trip. Like you buy it and it makes sense, and then I think as they continue, it gets a little bit harder and harder to justify it, and like that's where it's starting to lose me. Is like why do we even have this? Like it shouldn't exist. At least like recorded wise. Yeah.
Also, if I'm remembering correctly, the first one has a lot of cuts. So it's not like it's continuous. It's almost like, oh, they recorded it a couple of times, like for 10 minutes here, and then they stopped. And then it cuts to the other recording a little bit later. A lot of these had very long recordings.
Yeah.
That, like, didn't feel like it was like, well, why wouldn't you put the, like, I would have believed it more if, I'll wait till that one. Like, in this one, it was just like, I don't know. I know that was a performance. It was a play. It was like a 10-minute play or whatever it was.
But it is like a one-shot. And it's like... But also, who's editing all of these different views together?
Thing. Who's editing? But I guess that's like the mystery of VHS. It's like they find these VHSs. I can't say the word. What's a VHS? No, these... Oh, man. We did a
escape room
today, and one of the clues is you had to put the VHS into a VHS player, and it played a video that helped you with one of the clues.
Oh, that wasn't even what I was thinking of. The game master asked us beforehand. He's like, I just have one question. Do you guys know what is and how to use a rotary phone? And I was like, oh my God, I feel so old that you had to actually ask if I knew how to use it.
Ow, that hurts.
For our younger listeners out there, a rotary phone is the phone where you have to put your finger in the hole and turn it. And it like turns around, so it's not just buttons. It's old school.
It is old school, but LOL at the VHS and a VCR.
That was cool.
Pop that in there. Yes, I love that. Fantastic. Brian, do you want to continue some of your...
Yeah.
I'm doing Nikisha's job. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
iPhone technical. I agree with all of you. I thought it was slow getting to the point, but it was very Rent. Maureen from Rent.
Oh, yeah, I did make a comment too. I was like, oh wow, they really went with like a one-woman show, like vibe in some like dingy New York City club basement.
Yep.
But my number one note about this one is, this segment is just as bad as actually going to your friend's one-woman show.
No. You're not wrong.
I didn't like this one at all. I thought, I will say, one of my likes of this entire movie is I thought all of the special effects were A+. I think everything from this to, like, we'll talk about it more, but like the gunk falling out of the head, the woman's jaw, like all of that stuff was like truly, truly great. The eyes moving in the head, like in this one, I just thought like practically, whether it was CG or practical, I'm not 100% sure. I would hope it was practical, but I thought it was all done really, really well. And this one just felt very predictable and blah. I will say that some of the laughs in this whole movie were quite nice. And this one had that laugh of like the audience starting to like clap, and Jimmy mentioned it, and it was a little silly, but and it kind of didn't make sense that like I needed more reaction from the audience to be confused as if it was part of the play or not. That's what I needed from this one. I needed more of an audience participation in what is happening than anything else, and I think that would have elevated this potentially. But I mean, it was still second to last, so I'll say that.
Right. For sure.
All right. Nick, I'm going to move on to the next one. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Nikisha, what was in your, was it third, I guess? Third place?
Mm-hmm. God of Death.
All right.
So we want to stop and talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the third one there. Jamie, you were adamant about this one. Let's start with you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Man, I was so fucking disappointed. I hate this. I hate it so much. It just like did Head agrees. It did nothing for me. I was so disappointed because I'm always excited. Like, you know that you're getting David Bruckner. You know that you're getting Scott Derrickson. Like, you know that you're getting the folks who have been like consistently with this. So I'm always excited when they feature a different director that like we haven't seen before. I'm also excited when they're giving a non-English segment to these. Like, that excites me too. But man, there was just it really did nothing for me. Again, my biggest gripe with this is there is no world where an earthquake happens and decimates this news studio where the only survivor is the cameraman. Yeah. Where he's like, no, I've been behind the camera my whole life. I must continue carrying this camera. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, absolutely not. I was livid. I couldn't, I was like totally done after that. And then I was just like, what else is happening? Like, this crew, this rescue team is like not really doing a great job. Like, I don't know how they got in. I know that like there's aftershock, so like the building continues to get decimated, so like they have to go a different way. But then I was like, I guess I understand why this guy got injured, but then like why'd they have to kill him? And then why was it like, remember we said if something happens, like you got to do. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, we have no connection to these characters, so like why are they trying to force this meaningful moment between them? Like, I don't know you, I don't care. Like, just like it was just so weird. And then they find the Aztec god room, and I was just like, okay, I'm into this possession, but then he starts killing people, but then he died, so like that didn't matter anymore. And then the woman like gets away, and then our cameraman finally dies, and I was like, honestly, thank God. But then and then like the woman comes back, and then like she's naked all of a sudden, being like, yes, take over the world. And I'm just like, what did I just watch? That was so absurd. I don't care about any of these people, and honestly, I'm rooting for the Aztec god. Like, I just was like, it just didn't mean anything to me. It like landed 0%. But I think, again, like the most annoying thing was that this guy had this camera, and there's just no way, and then goes as far as to give it to one of the rescue people. They would be like, I'm not taking that. That's insane.
Exactly.
Like, this is life or death. You need to stop this. We have to go. Like, the fact that she takes the camera is also absurd. It was just all just so bad. And then the fact that then they like reference like a real life event at the end is kind of icky. And I don't like that they used like an actual earthquake that took place in Mexico City as like this is the cause of it. Which I only realized because I saw the Wikipedia, because I didn't understand what was going on entirely. So I think that that's weird. But I also didn't like, again, like, I think I'm becoming more like icked out by gore, but I didn't like that the camera was just like on the main reporter for like a significant period of time in the beginning after the first earthquake, where like her face is like partially caved in. I was like, I don't want to see, like, it was just really disturbing and weird. And I was like, is this a weird misdirection? Why they're lingering so much on her? But I was like, I just don't want to keep watching her. Like, it was just weird. And didn't connect back to anything else that happened, so it felt entirely pointless. So that's my parlor talk on that.
Come, sit, have a drink. It's parlor talk.
I was gonna say, I love Riled Up Jamie. It's really fun to watch. So like, if you guys aren't watching us on YouTube, like, you need to watch the anger that is in Jamie's eyes.
It just like, I haven't stopped thinking about how much I hated this for like the last 24 hours. It just makes me infuriated. I have not like truly detested a segment so much in like a while. Like maybe VHS Viral, because that whole movie sucks and is like,
that movie is awful.
Like, it's significantly worse than any of the other bad ones, but like this comes the closest to that for me.
Okay. Well, I will say truly the only reason I put it at number 3 in my ranking is because watching people get stuck in a collapsing building like unlocked a new fear for me. And that was just the disturbing aspect of it, put it higher up on my thing. And I didn't mind the fact that it was not just a building collapsing story, that there was like, even though it was random, but that they added like something else so that it wasn't just that. But that was literally the only reason why I liked it. Other than that, it was just kind of, like Jamie said, why is the camera in your hand? And I was also upset when that woman took the camera from him. No. It's like, what are you doing?
I refuse to believe that that's ever a situation that would ever remotely come close to reality.
Exactly. So that's, I 100% agree with that. But truly only just because now I'm just like, fuck, collapsing buildings. And I'm on like the 31st floor of this apartment complex in Chicago. So now all I think about is like, if this shit collapses, then I'm that's my time, guys. Sorry. But Brian, what are your thoughts?
I hated this one.
Yeah.
For many reasons. I liked the opening. I actually thought it had a strong opening. Like, because, and I also like the idea that like you really just don't know where this one is going to go. Like, and I like that aspect of it. However, I rolled my eyes. I was like, of course it's a god underground. I feel like I've seen it a million times.
For sure.
Like, that it's like a monster. Even in 99 that we watched, like, of course the game show is like a monster underground. You know what I mean? Like,
I forgot about
but
that.
At least that one was entertaining.
Oh, I'll never forget that one. That one I think about on a weekly basis of how much it disturbed me.
Yeah, fair.
But I hated this one. But I'll start with some of the likes. I thought it was really funny. I thought that the woman tripping at the beginning, she's like, hello and welcome. Oh, fuck.
Yes.
I like that. Honestly, I thought the fart was really funny. Like, it was just a little bit of humor while they were trying to escape this building. I totally agree with Jamie. This one, I couldn't justify them with the camera. The sets were a little fake haunted house for me. And I just didn't like that. I thought that I just thought the last like 5 minutes, like with the naked woman and all that, I'm just like, this is just what are we doing here? This isn't fun. This isn't exciting. This isn't funny. Like, is this supposed to be like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't know enough about the Aztec lore and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this one just did not do it for me. The effects were good. Once again, the effects were good. Some good lines in here were watch out after the old man, break it like a man, Miguel. Those were pretty funny. But honestly, it was also a little bit too 9/11-y for me. I recently was at the memorial in downtown, and I don't know, it just was a little bit too. I don't know. I just didn't like the ending, and I think that the ending didn't justify everything else through it. I just thought this was really, really bad. I thought it was poorly acted. I thought that like the ending was crappy. I thought the sets were bad, like I mentioned. I just like this one was just garbage. I agree with Jamie. This is like down there with like The Magician from Viral, or like some of these really, really bad segments. But yeah, oh man, Viral's really bad. Like honestly, this one is literally, this is on pun intended. This one is a god tier segment compared to anything in Viral.
No way.
It's really bad.
Viral's really bad.
It's very bad.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like literally the only thing I remember about us talking about the chain is that Viral was terrible. So I know I every time I see it, I'm like, I'm not going to watch it.
yeah. No, you would.
You're not missing.
Yeah.
I would only, if you're a completionist, watch it, but like, don't. It sucks.
Yeah. I'm good.
All right. So Nikisha went first. Jamie, what was your third?
My third was Total Copy.
So was mine. So let's talk Total Copy.
All right.
I feel like y'all gonna have the exact same list.
Who wants this? You know,
Yeah,
do you mind
you
if I
start.
start with? Okay.
Yeah. It's your creature feature.
Yeah, I like David Bruckner. I thought that it was it's actually until the very, very end, it was one of my favorite, like, tie everything in, like the narrative, the tie-in narrative of a lot of them. I really liked that 1980s like made for TV documentary series. Like, I really enjoyed that. I thought they showed just enough in each segment for me to like, oh, what's going to happen next? I'm interested. I thought it was really fun. I thought that the characters were super believable in a very cheesy 80s way. And I was enjoying it. And then the last part happened. And it was so Stranger Things predictable that I hated it. And I will and I don't, and they didn't close the door. They didn't close the door. That to me, and that's it. You know, usually like, cool, this is a horror movie, they didn't close the door. But they purposefully let go of Gary.
Right.
And the only reason to let go of Gary is to close the door.
Yes.
That's the only reason. Because it wasn't like the monster was attacking them. It was just trying to take Gary. So you would still, if your intention was to not close the door, you would try to get your friend and coworker back no matter what. But the point of dropping Gary is to close the door. And they didn't. And I hated that. It was a very interesting premise the whole time. And then it just became this predictable, awful, like, we didn't close the door, it's chasing us, it killed him, oh no. Like it didn't even they set up this amazing thing where it can turn into anything, and it like half turns into Gary, and that's where it ends. And then I didn't mind that, like, at the end it was making the dead bodies do the 80s like aerobics, but
yeah.
that would have been much more entertaining if everything from the lead scientist, like, kind of becoming super obsessed to that had been a little bit different. And I thought that the end of that was I just thought that they made every cliche choice possible, and that wasn't interesting to me. So the thing I really like about these VHS movies is that you really don't know what's going to happen in a lot of these. They subvert their expectations. They're not very predictable. Like, things will happen out of left field.
Yep.
And we'll talk about that in one of my favorite segments from this one. But like this, I would have ranked this maybe higher. But that last segment really, I hated it. That last portion.
They just didn't land
this.
The plane.
It did not land the plane when it was interesting. From giving us 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, 5 minutes here. I thought that was all interesting, and then it just like bailed on the cleverness of it all. Anyway, that's what I thought about Total Copy.
Yeah, I will just piggyback off of that and say that one of the things that maybe not like it as much was what you said. It could change into anything, and we're not getting any of that. I will say I did like how kind of 80s-esque the monster looked as it was kind of like changing or doing whatever it was. Like, I thought that it fit well into the time period. But yeah, I was just like, if you're gonna have this thing that changes into stuff, I was waiting for it to like be a doctor, and then they like let him out, and then, you know, like something happens. But yeah, it just kind of all fell short for me in that respect. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I know Brian said he didn't mind it, but I I hated at the end when it takes the bodies and makes it do the jazzercise thing. It's just like,
Yeah.
like I did not really care for how they chose to weave in humor into a lot of these segments. That one I like fully scoffed out loud, and I think I said like, that's really how they chose to end this whole movie. I was just like super bummed. I don't know why. I was just like, just let the creepiness linger. Like, don't undercut itself by like trying to be funny with something so stupid.
Right.
But that was just me.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. Next up, I guess we're on 2s.
Yeah.
What was everybody's 2? Nikisha, you go first.
Dream kill.
Dream kill.
Was number 2 for both of you?
Yep.
It was number 2 for me as well.
Yeah. Woohoo!
All right, let's talk about Dream Kill. The first thing I will say, Nikisha, is
Yes.
did you know
Oh God.
that Dream Kill takes place in the same universe as The Black Phone?
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Yes. So because Scott Derrickson directed it, obviously.
Right.
When the detective is talking about how his sister had it and she killed herself because she couldn't deal with it, and then she said, and then the detectives that power, and then the detective said that, oh, his cousin Gwen also has that power. Gwen is the sister that finds
She's
him
the little
through
girl.
the little girl in The Black Phone.
No way.
Yeah. So this
I
is
love
this,
that.
This is like a weird spiritual sequel.
you?
Do you?
Do you love that?
I mean,
I have feelings about that.
well, you know, I like the connection. I think that that's really cool. But
I mean, this
when
was better
I
than The Black Phone.
well, yeah. But I will say that this was the most disturbing for me because like gun violence, I think like Jamie, you were talking about how you can't deal with gore anymore. Like I can't deal with gun violence. That is now something that I would rather see like Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger like rip someone limb from limb than somebody get shot in the head. Like that is so disturbing to me. But I enjoyed the overall story of it all. I enjoyed like it being the cameraman that was doing all the things because that like makes sense. I think it tied it in together. I also like the concept of like the son being gothy, but like the son is completely innocent and it's like the dad, and that just kind of like, you know, tropey narrative of it all. Especially because like the dad used to work in the police force and like is a stalker and all that stuff. And so I really, really enjoyed the story, but man, were those images of just, that close-up shot of the detective like confronting the cameraman in the car, like that hurt my soul.
Sure.
That was very, very hard to watch and process. It was also very hard to process just the home invasion of it all. Like that's too close to true crime realness, and y'all know how I feel about true crime. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Give me absurdity, give me to the extremes of other things that I know are fake, but like, yeah, that was really, but it added to, I think now things, it's a higher rank because it did spook me. It spooked me, you know, it got me. So,
And
that's what horror movies are, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are my thoughts. But I really enjoyed the story, and it was super unsettling, and I think that it did its job of that aspect of it. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
I definitely agree that like it's deeply upsetting. The Black Phone notwithstanding, I really like the idea of like this person's dreams are prophetic but also get like recorded onto a VHS. I thought that was super cool. And I agree with you that like it was deeply disturbing, the brutality, the gun violence, the actual like found footage like snuff films. Man, Scott Derrickson knows how to make a fake snuff film and does it so well because like this really gave me Sinister vibes. and that movie also like really freaks me out. Like those little films like really freak me out. As soon as it started, I was like, oh, this is like Sinistery. This has to be Scott Derrickson's. I called it immediately because it's like the same. He like knows how to channel that same like very unsettling, like tense, like you hear the like whoop 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 in the back. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's how I'm gonna say the sound.
That's it. That's perfect.
In those, it's like it I don't know why it just like goes into my bones and like it makes me very uncomfortable. So as soon as I like saw and could hear, I was like, this is Scott Derrickson. It was really hard to watch some of those like snuff VHSs. Like it was especially the first one. I was like, why is he gotta slice the eyeballs? Like I did not like that. I also was like, when she was on the phone with the police on the rotary or on her landline and like holding it under the bed, I was just like, oh no, like why would they tell her to like keep her, like clearly he can see. Oh man. But yeah, very gross. Didn't like watching her fingies get cut off. It was icky. And then like the guy getting attacked, like it was all just like really gruesome and gross. What I am not crazy about is, when we talked about it on the Black Phone, I did not like the Black Phone. So I kind of was like, really, does it need to be part of that world? Why can't we just have it be its own thing? Just the callback itself like annoyed me. Again, I did not like the Black Phone. You all can like the Black Phone. That this is just my opinion. But I was like, that just didn't seem necessary. But then, fine, you're gonna go with that concept. Great. Here's my problem. You have a kid, your son can predict the future, and you've already acknowledged that like this has happened before, that he can prophesize things. And then you're going to go and like murder a bunch of people and think that he's not going to have a dream about it. Like, you're a dummy. You also said your sister had this, which means that your niece also, like, you've now conjured up a world where like there's no way that people don't know that it's you because of the exact premise that you came up with. I was like, how could it not be him? I knew it was him like from the beginning. Brian also said something to me when we were watching it of like, well, yeah, he's like you know who he is, so like it's like as an actor you know who he is, so like it's most likely going to be him. But I knew it was him because of something that the son said about the father, that I was like, oh, it's definitely the father, like without a doubt. I also was like, what world does this like former police officer, because like he gets his badge taken away because he's facing very serious allegations. So, how is he able to show up to work still? Like, how is he at any of these crime scenes? But I got mean. Sorry, I don't want to be mean. The thing that's the hardest to believe is when the police detective says that he's getting a weird snuff VHS that's like, whoa, this is crazy. This can't be real. Which also, like, why would you assume it's not real? You get this thing in the mail. You're a detective. You're not going to do any research on this mysterious VHS, and then you show up at this murder, and you're like, "Oh, that's so crazy! I just watched a video on it." Then you get a second VHS. At that point, you're a dummy head. Like, I don't know what world you're operating in where like now you have the tape and you have the exact murder, and you've confirmed that like, wow, this is the same thing that I watched on the VHS. You're not going to go to that house ahead of time. Like, you know where it is. You have it on the VHS. You got it ahead of time. You're not going to case the place. You're not going to check. You're not going to interview the potential victim. Like, you do nothing. You let him die. Like, how silly. And then you secretly do all of this, like, digging and actually do the detective work. And then you decide that you're going to tell the person by yourself with no one else around. Like, there's no brain being used by any people. Like, what is happening? I am not a detective. I cannot speak for how detectives work. But if you have information about the future, why wouldn't you, like, take the 5 seconds it would take to figure out where this location is and, like, do something with that?
So that was my biggest pet peeve about this one. It makes no sense that he, like Jamie said, like, oh, this is the house from the video. You know what? I needed, first of all, one of my biggest pet peeves about all of this is that all of the costuming felt like they were in a High School Musical of a movie from the 80s. Like, nothing, like he looked like a cop from an 80s movie. Like, you know, that was made now. It was like, oh, I'm from, you know, like that. Like, it just, I did not.
What? I'm sorry. What accent was
I
that
don't know.
supposed to be?
Not Colorado, obviously. But the fact that he did, you know, I needed one line in there and be like, it was here. I've been looking for this house for 2 weeks. Like, I needed a line like that. Because, like Jamie said, like, if you know, you can see the number on the door when they're walking in, if they know Aurora, Colorado so well, like, and the first house, you have to assume that it was filmed when the murder happened. Because at that point he doesn't know that these are prophetic. You know what I mean? The second house, if you get the video, you're like, oh wow, like, maybe I need to find this house, and then you do the research. It just it didn't make any sense. The fact that he tells him alone in the car, I buy that as a movie thing because one, it's happened in movies so much. Two, that's like a friend to friend thing. It's like, hey, I'm your buddy. Like, I'm just trying to help you out here. Like, we'll figure it out together. But like, I also agree that like you got to tell somebody else or something. Also, that cop showing up afterwards felt like very random, unless there was a cop like with them that was going to case the house with them. Anyway, I thought a lot of the cop mumbo jumbo, like Jamie said, like, didn't make sense. Just didn't make sense at all. And it's
and then with the violence, you have like somehow he's like the most super powerful cop of all time. Like, how
and
is
killing
he
everybody?
Unstoppable. Like, it's just like, it's already disturbing to like watch all of that happen, but like I'm also like, how is this? We're not watching The Invisible Man, spoilers, where you can't see the person who's trying to attack you. Like, you see him. Like, you're already going around in the station like knowing that there's someone in there, and you likely already have identified who it is. Like, there's no like wherewithal about how to navigate that situation. Sorry, I cut you off because just annoyed me.
No, I agree, but also, I also Jamie had mentioned, I had a problem with the son-father dynamic for multiple reasons. The first reason is that, like Jamie said, if you know your son has this ability, and somebody is dropping off tapes, like, you'd think that he would have had the common sense. Apparently he's like a really good like planner of murders. So like, you'd think he'd have the good sense to like approach his son and be like, I know you're dropping these off. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. One, and not just wait till they like catch him in the act at the mailbox. Like, I don't know. Two, I needed to make this a little bit more dynamic. I needed the father to be a little bit more torn on the fact that like his son gave these in and is in trouble, whereas like he did them, and I needed a little bit more empathy from that murderous cop in some ways with his son being in there, because his lack of empathy for his son in that room to me was just another thing on the list of things that gave away that he was the bad guy in this.
Yes.
Outside of the fact that he's in every Scott Derrickson like movie, or at least a couple of them, and he's not only is the only like known actor in that one, but he's also like now on the like video forensics team. Like, yeah, of course you did it. Like, so that mystery was taken out. But I know those are my gripes, but I really like this still. I think it was maybe it benefits from the fact that like it is all the other ones were kind of crap in this one. But I really liked it. It was very interesting. It kept me wildly engaged. The black phone thing took me out a little bit, but overall, I just like really, really liked it. However, it did not feel like a VHS segment. It felt like a mini movie spin-off or something that like it didn't feel VHS. I can't explain it, but it just didn't have the same tone and whatever of a VHS. Maybe it's because I know Scott Derrickson's, like, as Jamie mentioned, his like snuff film aesthetic from other movies, and so it felt like shoehorned in here into the aesthetic of this. Maybe it was because it didn't feel like it was recorded on VHSs in some ways. Whatever the case may be, this didn't feel like a VHS segment. And that's why it's number 2 for me. And when we talk about number 1, I'll get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to add to that too, Brian. Maybe it's also because there was so many like still shots because the camera was like on a tripod, and so not having the effects of like someone holding and recording, which is kind of the aesthetic more. So it was a lot. The only thing that felt like it was like the murder of it all, but when the son and the father dynamic like inside of the police station, whatever, that was just all kind of like a one still shot. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it definitely didn't have that same tone and aesthetic for me.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Yes, please. So I'm assuming all 3 of our number 1 was a combination of No Wake and Ambrosia.
Yeah.
As a reminder, No Wake was about a bunch of teens who go out to a lake and they are massacred. They're on a boat and they get massacred by a sniper. And they find out that the water that they've touched basically makes them undead, like doesn't allow them to die. The second, they get the license plate of the car in the video, and then it cuts. And that's the end of this first segment. And the last thing it ends with is we're going to kill her. Like, no, we're going to find her. Or whatever they say. Then the second half of this, which gave me very Ready or Not vibes, is that this whole family is meeting. And for whatever reason, when a person in that family comes of age or whatever it is, they need to kill 7 people. And those were her 7 people. And she actually filmed herself, like with the sniper rifle, killing all of them. And then all of a sudden the cops raid the house and like take out the family. They must have gotten tipped off, and the cops kill her. But then she's not dead. She comes to from being shot and then tries to kill herself like by literally putting a bullet through her brain. And then she wakes up again and is taken in by the cops. What we find out is that one of her little cousins got a water gun that they used in the earlier sequence from them. You see the RV drive away and said, I got this from the RV, and he squirted her. So, and then it ends with them filling up the water gun with the water from the lake, basically saying like, will this work? You think this will work? And that's how that ends. So that was No Wake Ambrosia. Before we talk about our likes and gripes, what were your order? Did you like one better than the other one?
I think it was No Wake and then Ambrosia. Yeah.
Jamie?
I liked Ambrosia and then No Wake.
Yeah, I couldn't decide because Ambrosia is more impactful because of No Wake.
Right.
But No Wake, and they both kind of subverted expectations a little bit. But in the end, I may have liked No Wake a little bit better than Ambrosia. I don't know. But Nikisha, why don't you start with your likes and gripes?
Yeah, I thought out the gate I was just in it to win it. You're in an RV, they're going camping, you got the 80s clothes and the aesthetic and the vibe. And I loved that when they picked up the little sign right off of the lake, it looked like it says Lake Evil. I thought when they started shooting, that the jaw, of course, we had mentioned that earlier, but the shot in the jaw, and then the close up on like his fingers getting shot, and I was like, what the fuck kind of gun is that? And then when they referenced Pet Sematary, I was like, LOL, that's hilarious. They referenced a lot of horror movies in this one, which I appreciated for the time. Very like Stranger Things, like Brian said, esque of kind of going with the time and the movies that were coming out at that time. I don't know where this came from, but I just put in my notes the quote, "We're all victims, Robin." And I don't know, I guess that quote made me laugh. But yeah, I just thought the idea of when they were moving around at first, because you don't realize like the water like made them alive. I was like, how the hell are they all alive right now? This woman got shot in the jaw. But I liked the concept of the water of it all. And then to your point, Brian, I think that Ambrosia was nice because it brings it back to what's her face being the one that killed all of those people. I also like the idea of the suburban house that feels like it's perfect, but they all have a dark secret vibe of it all. So that was really just appealing to me, that it on the outside it seems like this nice kind of perfect home, but all the shit was happening on the inside. And then their insides were on the outsides, and that was crazy. But yeah, so I really had, there was nothing in here that was like, what is going on? I was in it to win it for both of these. I don't really think I have any gripes about what was happening. So yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, Jamie?
Go for
I'll
it.
go.
Okay.
So I wasn't really crazy about No Wake. So I guessed that something was going to be up with the water from the beginning. Like, as soon as he saw the thing that was like no swimming, I was like, oh, but I didn't guess this. So I was like, I was surprised and confused, but excited that like there was something going on with the water. I thought that the water was just going to be like bad. I thought more like spoilers for Cabin Fever, a movie that came out like I think in 2002. It's a very old movie.
Yes.
But I thought that like something was going to be wrong with the water, and that was going to like cause. I mean, I guess something was wrong with the water, but that was going to be the thing that got them. Not then. I was like surprised that they went in a different direction. But like I know that it kind of ties together back with Ambrosia, but I do kind of feel like it's a little bit anticlimactic that it doesn't really have like its own conclusion.
Fair.
But then it does kind of tie together really nicely later on. I really liked Ambrosia. That was like definitely my favorite by far. I was really into like this weird culty family. I wanted to know way more about like what is this tradition that they have going on? Why are they doing this? I was like making all the connections of like 7. There was a 7 on the RV. I was like full conspiracy theory mode watching this one, and like really enjoyed that. And then when the cops come and they're like, all right, like we've been preparing for this, then you realize that like the protagonist that we've been following, Ruth, who's like a part of this stuff, is calling her cousin James like a loser and lame. But like the reality is she's calling him that because he doesn't want to do any of, like he doesn't want to be a murderer. So it like subverts you there, where like at first you just think he's a weirdo, but then it's like, oh no, he's like the only good person here. He's like, no, I don't want to kill anybody. I want to kill cops. Like I want to be a part of this. And then she kills him like point blank, and that was like awful. So like all of that was really awful, and then the water gun scene at the end like really tied it all together. Of like, yep, she got and you know deserves what's coming to her. But like, yeah, I would love more about like this cult. That really like excited me and got me going. And then I was like just bummed for the rest of this movie. Yeah,
For sure. Brian?
Yeah, it's funny because like the good ones in this I really liked. Like I did like Dream Kill, and I really did like No Wake and Ambrosia, and like that's like 50% of this movie. But to me, the bad ones were so bad in this one. For this one, I thought some of my gripes are I really thought the acting from some of the kids at the beginning was not good. I really like that the No Wake subverted a lot of expectations. Like you thought something was going to be wrong with the water, but then they're getting shot at. Even though in the end it is the water that was the thing. Like again, this had VHS vibes in the way that Dream Kill did not. In that like it just went totally haywire to the left. The special effects were amazing with the mouth and everything. Like really excellent.
Oh, so good.
I like that when they found the sign, it said, you think it's going to be Lake Evil, but it's like Lake Evic. Like, I like that, like, little stupid thing foreshadowing, like, the subverting of expectations there. And I thought that, I also liked this one, you know, the camera cut, and then the camera would come back on again. Like, I like that type of recording during this, as opposed to the other stuff. So I really liked this one a lot, actually. Then at the end, for Ambrosia, I don't even think I took notes for Ambrosia. because I liked it so much. I just thought it was like a perfect conclusion to that story. I think it was very smart and clever that those kids were not in it. Like, I like that it was its own story, and you only see the RV for that 1 second, and then the water gun. I thought that was really, really well done. So that was really just like from Ruth's perspective. I liked how like insane her family was. I thought the filming of that last one was really good, and I liked that like these kids were super clever. I like the idea that they're now like alive forever, like traveling the world or whatever they're gonna do. Like, I imagine them going to therapy. Like, honestly, like the guy who got shot and his intestines were hanging out, like, he can make it through. The guy who got shot in his head, as long as he's wearing a beanie forever, like, he can be totally fine. But like, I feel real, and even the girl who was shot on the water skis, like, she can make it through without, like, but poor like broken jaw woman, because like what's she gonna do, like wear like a bottom face muumuu her whole, like, I don't understand, like I really feel bad for her. She's really what a bummer.
Yeah,
that's like a what is it, the balaclava, like that fully covers your whole face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what she has to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
I know that makes me think, like, what could they do? Like, do you even go to a doctor or like a plastic surgeon? Like, because they're just going to be like, what the fuck is this phenomena? And probably like capture you and like not, release you to study you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wrote 2 quotes from this section though.
Yeah.
One, someone said, "I wouldn't know it was your first." Like, all these nice family things that they would say during the video.
Yes.
Oh, you look so cute. I loved all that stuff because it made it feel very like that's something a family would say about like, your recital video or something like that. And they're saying it for this like massacre video.
Awful.
I like the idea also that someone was filming the party, but they were also watching her film of the murders she enacted.
Yes.
I like that as well. So I thought these 2 together were very successful.
Yeah. Same.
Agreed.
Wonderful. Well, I think that ends our segment of likes and gripes of these. Let us know if you had similar rankings, or Narda, what you thought about this, if you got through the whole thing, because it looks like if Jamie could have shut it off, she would have shut it off.
No, I try to like give it my whole attention for the whole thing, but
The good old college try.
yeah, there's very few things that I would like straight up be like I've only walked out of one movie ever in my entire life, so like I really do try to like commit to the whole thing.
Yes. Can we know what movie that is? That was?
I think it was Sahara.
Oh. When was this? What year was
Steve
this?
Zahn.
Yeah, 2005.
Is Penelope Cruz in that, or is that Kate
Penelope
Hudson?
Cruz, Steve Zahn, Matthew McConaughey,
Oh,
William
right.
H. Macy, Rainn Wilson. Yep, that's the only movie I ever walked out of a theater.
Nice. All right, fantastic. Well, let's move on to our next segment, brains. Oh my God, so many brains in this
Ugh, too
movie.
many brains.
And then the guy, when he got shot in the head and his like hair, it was just like
He like
all
took the
his,
chunk
and his-
out. He's like, "This is not okay," and I was like, "Put that back, sir."
Oh, put it back. It's giving me
Gross.
Saw vibes.
Yeah, for sure. Ugh.
Ooh. Okay. Anyway, so my first question ties in with what we were just talking about with the family dynamic in Ambrosia, and them just being like, oh yeah, this is so great that you're doing this, and a whole party for her like killing these people. But it had me thinking about just influences, because this girl had to be like, what, 15, 16 years old. And she's just with no question following through with the family plan, like the family tradition of it all. So my question to you, Jamie, is do you think that influence from family members hold more weight than like influence from outside sources, like media or friends or like religious groups? Because it's just so, we see a lot of times when people maybe fall into a cult or fall into whatever, it's like outside things. But it really is an interesting thing to think that like someone can just kind of go with family traditions, even if it's as sinister as this one was.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think that like there is a lot of influence from the family unit and like how you know, how things are, like the rules and customs and things that they're modeled. You know, a lot of that primarily or like starts from family. So I think that especially if you're, I mean, think about cults too. Think about people who grow up in cults.
Oh,
like,
fair.
They're like truly being indoctrinated. So like there's very little influence from other outside sources to like, you know, counteract against the information that they're getting from the cult. So, but that's like more extreme. But I do think that like there's definitely, you know, rules and customs and like information that we get from parents that like is instilled in us and, you know, is very heavily weighted and what's it called? Like internalized. That, you know, impacts us for a good chunk of our lives. Like I'm sure even like as adults, there are things that like we continue to carry from childhood. So I definitely think that it can be really influential.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a sub question. Do you guys have any like family traditional things or
Cults that we're a part of?
Family cults that you want to confess here on the podcast? Or just like any kind of like family cultural things that you might have like grown out of, or you're just like, yeah, no, this isn't for me anymore, like lifestyle things? Or do you feel like your family didn't have those kinds of like traditions or stuff like that?
I mean, I'm sure there are. It's funny because I actually had to do a family in grad school. We had this like whole project on like family rules. I think it was a genogram project. So like a genogram is basically this like, you know, it's like a fancy word for like a family tree, but it can be really helpful in like a therapy space because it's more than just like who's your mom, who's your dad, blah blah blah, but you can get more in depth about like what is your connection to these people, like what type of relation, how would you define the relationship between like you and your mom, you and your dad, you and your sibling, you and like other family members. So like it's more in depth about like what those connections are, because sometimes people have connections just because they have like, you know, this is your biological mom or your biological dad. Like you might have stronger connections with grandparents, with aunts and uncles, with siblings. And so like a genogram is a really helpful way to kind of like see big picture what those relationships are to you. So I had to do one for myself for this like big project. And then also part of the project was like, you know, identifying some of the customs and rules and like secrets of your family unit. So like there are definitely things that I learned about my family that I, for whatever reason, can't remember right now. But like, it was just really interesting to like kind of formally think on like, oh yeah, what are all of these influences that like come, or like, for example, like, you know, my family, like I'm an only child. That always like surprises people, or maybe doesn't, and hopefully it does, because I don't want you to think badly of me. But you know, my mom is Puerto Rican and my dad is Jewish, and then my mom converted to Judaism. So like, you know, the customs and cultures that I grew up with are like a mix of both like celebrating Jewish holidays and then only Christmas, but like only Christmas with my extended family, and like not one where like I wasn't going to church as a kid, I was going to synagogue. So like all of these things were like a part of my family unit growing up. Whereas like I think, you know, other people can have other things, but like all of that stuff is stuff that sticks out as like this was unique about like my particular family unit.
Yeah, I did not know that your father was Puerto Rican.
Other way around.
Oh, mom. Okay.
Yeah, my mom was Puerto Rican. My dad is Jewish. Did I say the opposite?
Maybe, I mean,
No,
my
I
brain
don't
is
think you
fried, so you probably said it correctly. I didn't interpret it that way, so I'll be happy to blame my brain.
Yeah, my mom is Puerto Rican. She was born there.
Okay.
And then converted to Judaism after they got married, before I was born. So they didn't have like a religious wedding. They had like a non-denominational wedding.
Oh, cool.
But then like, because she was Jewish before I was born, like that makes me full Jewish. If you're counting the mom being Jewish as the rule.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Okay, so my next question is, from your experience as a therapist, do you think that children who might have been spanked as a form of discipline or hit in any capacity as a form of discipline affected their mental health more than maybe a child who wasn't spanked by their parents? And I reference this from the tiny sentence that happens in Dream Kill when the police officer was talking to the son, and the son was saying that his father doesn't like when he talks about his powers, his gift. And then the son was just saying like his dad gets really mad. And then the police officer was like, well, how mad does he get? And then no one answers. And so it was just kind of like, oh, well, was he being abused? You know, which, I mean, the father was a killer, so that could absolutely be possible, or what they were kind of alluding to. So I was just wondering what you thought in your practice, if like that really has such a lasting impact on a person's mental health.
Yeah.
Or is it the same when we're all just going mad slowly?
I mean, that also very well may be true. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, like, you know, physical discipline does impact and like can shape mental health. I think like there's a lot of different, you know, feelings that people have on this. And again, I'm saying this also like not as a parent.
Right.
But I think like there's a lot of different philosophies. There's a lot of different like cultural philosophies that I think also play into this. I also think that like that's something that is really challenging, in particular when you're looking at like child welfare related stuff and like you know, CPS and things like that, where, you know, some family units like normalize using physical punishment on their children, and then like have a really hard time understanding why CPS would be called because of that. But like I think when you look at I guess like how to influence behavior, I think that like you can still encourage things and use like positive reinforcement as opposed or even negative reinforcement, which isn't punishment. That's a different thing. But like that type of reinforcement over punishment to potentially lead to better outcomes, both with like whatever thing you want someone to do or not do, and also like not negatively impact their mental health.
Yeah, I think that's great. Can you just elaborate? And I know we've talked about this, and I don't like way back, but like just the difference in positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, because you said negative reinforcement is not necessarily punishment.
Yes. So positive reinforcement is when you add something pleasant to increase the likelihood of like the desired behavior that you want to see. Negative reinforcement is when you take something unpleasant away to increase the likelihood of the desired behavior.
Okay.
So it's both in favor of increasing the desired behavior, and you're either introducing something positive or removing something negative to encourage the desired behavior, as opposed to punishment, where you are adding something negative to decrease the behavior.
Adding something negative. So like a negative of like taking your phone away.
Yeah, like an unpleasant thing, as opposed to, so like positive reinforcement, you're adding something pleasant.
Yes.
Punishment, you're adding something unpleasant.
Got it. Yes.
And then negative reinforcement, you're removing something unpleasant.
Yes. To get the desired behavior. Yes, I just didn't want to skip over that because I know that some people might be like,
that's a good point.
yeah, what would be the difference? Because
Yeah.
you hear the word negative and you're thinking punishment, but that's not what you're saying. So,
Or
thank you for that clarification.
another like a negative punishment then is removing the pleasant thing to decrease behavior. That's like the take away your phone or take away your Xbox.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Great. Fantastical. That's really all that I have. I think these are all good things. So do we want to move to Rotten Tomatin?
Yeah, let's do some Rotten Tomatin.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? Nikisha, let's start with you.
52.
Jamie?
37.
Strike that, reverse it. It has a 73%.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh, can you tell us?
Out of here.
Can you tell us the other VHS
Oh, sure.
rankings?
Yeah, let me see
Or
if
Rotten Tomatoes?
I can find that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While I'm looking for that, what do you think this has on all of the
Letterbox. 2.7.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2.5.
It has a 3.0. It's at a 2.9 technically, but that rounds up
Okay.
to 3.0. Okay, so the original VHS has a 56%.
Oh wow.
An uneven collection of found footage horror films, VHS has some inventive scares, but its execution is hit and miss. Okay, that's VHS. Okay, VHS 2 on Rotten Tomatoes has a 71%. People do like this one a lot. It's as scattershot as its predecessor, but VHS 2 rounds up enough horror filmmaking talent to deliver a satisfyingly nasty, albeit uneven, dose of gore.
Okay.
Okay. VHS Viral on Rotten Tomatoes has a 33%.
Okay.
VHS Viral is hardly a sensation as it cycles through the franchise's least frightening vignettes yet. Then you have VHS 94, which has a 91%. VHS 94 gets the franchise back on track with a gory buffet of shorts that should delight horror anthology fans. Then VHS 99 has a 76%. Like most anthologies, VHS 99 has its ups, has its downs, but more than often than not, this collection of shorts continues the franchise's recent creative rebound.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And this one has a 73.
And this one has a 73, yeah.
That's so hard to believe that the first is like the second to last.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was more fondly looked upon now than it was then. I don't know, because it was a new thing.
Has to be.
Anyway, those are the Rotten Tomato scores for them. But VHS, yeah, and the audience scores a 41% on that one, which is surprising. VHS 2, yeah, has a 52%.
What's wrong with you?
VHS Viral has a 13%. 94 has a 78%, and 99 has a 69%. And 85 has a 74% enjoyment rate for audiences. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Anyway, should we get into the 4 S's?
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
Okay. The 4 S's: skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. Skulls is how well this handles human behavior and mental health. The scares is how scary was it, and shakes, how much will stick with you. Jamie, let's start with you.
Oh god. I think for skulls, how do I even rate this whole thing?
Yeah, I guess it's hard.
Did we do this the same way last time?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh wow, how silly of us. Okay. So for skulls, I'm gonna give this a 2 because I just think that nobody would be carrying a camera in most of these situations. It's just like very unbelievable. I also think like a lot of the decisions that people are making in general are just unbelievable. Mostly in like danger situations. I just like have it's unfathomable to me. For scares, I'm gonna give this like I'm gonna give it a 4.5 because like there were many segments that made me deeply uncomfortable. Nothing was like jump scary, but like I have to add points for like viscerally feeling like sick at looking at some of these images. So
absolutely
a bump from me. For shakes, I'm gonna give this I'm gonna give this a 2 because I really, this one really didn't do it for me. And like at least with some of the other ones, there's like one segment that always stands out where like I will never forget it and I will reference it all the time, like Mabel or like Ratma. And this one I don't think is going to have something that really resonates with me moving forward. Maybe Dream Kill, but like that one just made me really uncomfortable. The other ones at least have like something, I don't know if fun's the right word to like take away, but like, I don't know, hail Ratma. I love Ratma. I didn't love anybody in this. There's no one that I want to hang out with. At least Ratma, like, you know, makes you throw up some goo and he's a cool guy to worship. I don't want to worship techno god. Like he's not fun.
Absolutely
not fun.
Flay your skin.
I like my body parts.
Yeah. So it's gonna get a low score from me.
Okay.
Fair.
Nikisha, what about you?
Skulls, I gave it a 4. Yeah, it was just hard to justify a lot of stuff in this. Scares, I'm going to give it a 5 just because of the gun violence. Like I said, it was just very unsettling. But that's going to be my same answer for shakes. I'm going to give it a 5, but it's just because I will remember how much I was uncomfortable watching this.
That's fair.
Yes. Not because it was good, but just because I was uncomfortable.
No, totally.
Yes.
I'm giving this a 2 for skulls. You have to, for 2 reasons. You have to close the door.
That's fair.
And I just don't believe the cops wouldn't have like dug into those situations. I just don't believe that. Next up, we have scares. I gave this a 5. It's got some good gory. It's got some good moments in there. I'll give it a 5. And for shakes, I'm giving this a 4. And really the only thing that I'm going to like remember this for, if you will, honestly, is that was a part of the black phone.
Black phone.
Universe. Like that kind of amps that up. I will say that I will probably remember like the 2-parter, the boating stuff, like maybe. But regardless, I gave it a 4 on that. My suggestion for this one, and it's the same suggestion I actually gave for 99, is Southbound. Watch Southbound. It's a great anthology movie. One of my personal favorites. Southbound's really good.
Nice. Jamie?
I mean, you should see Sinister if you haven't. Also, we covered.
Yes.
This, but like, whatever.
And then listen to our episode.
And you know what No Wake reminded me of? It reminded me of Old.
Oh.
So that was really the only other thing that like stood out as an interesting twist that like you might know what you're kind of getting into, but then it kind of goes in a slightly different direction. Okay.
My suggestion is American Horror Story 1984 because of No Wake. So if you enjoyed kind of the vibe of No Wake, I think that 1984 delivers the same kinds of things.
Cool. Great.
Fantastic. All right, so that wraps up our episode of VHS 85. You can follow us on all of the social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, all the things, at Talk Horror Pod, P-O-D. And Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. So, of course, you can find us on YouTube. Hi, YouTube.
What's
you
that?
can listen there. On Spotify, of course. On Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you.
Yeah, and we're getting some real. We'll read them on the next one or later this month. But we've gotten some really awesome reviews, so thank you, and it's really helped us. We've made a lot of lists lately, and it's been super cool in terms of like most listened to horror podcasts and stuff like that. So keep on listening, keep on commenting, keep on engaging with us. We really appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We're just moving on up in that podcast chart, so we appreciate the support, everyone who's following us and commenting on all the things. Brian, do you have a quote do you want to leave with us?
Yeah, sure. My obvious quote is
Hell Rama, baby.
Hail Rat. Yeah, you know what?
Always.
Hail Ratma. Also,
Hail
you look so
Ratma.
cute. I wouldn't have known it was your first. But also, Hail Ratma. Hail Ratma.
Hell Ratma.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.